Today is January 15th. It is 11:46. Government shutdown. Fun times. The government's been shut down several times since I've been alive. I really never paid any attention to it because the federal government doesn't pay my bills. I guess if the federal government is paying your bills and you work for the federal government, or you're on some type of government assistance you're probably having a panic attack. But these people technically don't vote for conservative people anyway, so it's not a loss. So what is the government shutdown about? Well, basically, unless you've been living off-world somewhere, there is a stalemate between Republicans and Democrats based on the funding for some type of physical barrier on our southern border. People say it's too expensive. In the greater scheme of things, $5 billion out of our budget is nothing. It's the equivalent of $57 out of $44,000. If you put the American fiscal budget at understandable terms, $44,000 would be their operating budget for the year, and 57 of those dollars would go for a wall. Now, that's think about it. I mean, come on, that's extremely affordable. Then you have to look at the economically, you look at the savings based on what you save in government costs regarding illegal immigration. And I could go into a whole bunch of things on how much money you save on goods and services to illegals. Now, this is what I want to say, and it has to do with illegal immigration. The people that get really pissed off about this tend to be Latinos that have friends and family that are illegals. They're the ones spitting fire over this. Like they think they have a right to walk into another country illegally and live here illegally for years, because that's what they do. Do I speak with experience with this? Yes, I do. I have family members who have lived as illegals for years on government assistance, for years, never learning to speak English, for years. And these are not people from Europe, okay? These are not people from Europe. I also heard the argument that walls don't work. Well, they do work. They stop vehicles from just driving around them. It doesn't stop a ladder. Well, most of these places where they put a border wall up, you don't have a ladder that big to get over a wall like that. And secondly, even if you do manage to do that, what are you going to do when you get on the other side? You think it's just easy to just lift that up and put it on the other side? And this is something I've learned because I've dealt with fences my whole life. Fences with animals. And we're just very clever animals. To deal with a barrier, you have three options. You either can go under it, you can go over, or you can go through it. Going through it is not so easy because it needs some good equipment to go through it. And you're in the middle of the desert. You're not pulling up with a truck equipped with all kinds of cutting torches to cut through it. Your next option is to go under. You can tunnel, but when they put these type of barriers and they go down pretty deep into the ground, and you could tunnel, and tunneling takes a lot more risk. The greater the reward on the other side of a barrier, the more something is going to risk wanting to get on that other side of that barrier. It's no different for animals than it is for people. If there's a great reward on the other side of the barrier, there's going to be a lot of effort. It makes it worth going over or going under, depending on what you're capable of doing. But it doesn't make it any easier. Don't make it just easier than just walking across. What do you want to do? Put water fountains on the other side? You want to have a little sandwich stand, for people who are hungry after they just illegally cross. They just walk across. You don't want to make it easy. If you have chickens and you decide to let your chickens run around in your yard, you put a fence up. A 3-foot high fence may keep chickens on one side, as long as they don't see something to hop on to get over it. But it doesn't prevent a fox from jumping over the 3-foot high fence. Now, I can speak from experience. A 3-foot high fence will stop a fox from coming into your yard if he doesn't see anything on the other side to eat. They don't want to exert the effort to go over the fence unless there's a great reward, or a reward greater than the effort of going over. You put a chicken on the other side of a 3-foot fence, fox wants to jump over it, and he will jump over it. You make that fence a little higher, it becomes a little more difficult for the fox, meaning a little more effort has got to be put into it. The higher you go, you eventually get to a point where the reward is not worth trying to get over on the other side. You physically can't do it, or it's just too much trouble. It's no different with human beings. It's called taking the path of least resistance. Human beings are the same way. We do it. That's why people drive expressways, the path of least resistance. It's quicker, it's faster, there's no stop signs, there's no stoplights. A barrier works the same way. Now, getting over to the United States is a great reward, so people will go through incredible things to do it. Particularly if you're a drug smuggler. There's a greater reward on the other side. It's worth the risk, at least in their eyes, going over, going under, going through it. So, I'm all for it because, all right, you're going to dig a tunnel. Good luck with that. I hope you're good at digging, because the risk of digging a tunnel to go underneath the barrier and loose sandy soil is really, really risky. And if you want to do that, God bless you, because the odds are it's going to collapse on your sorry ass and you're going to die. You're going to get smothered by a ton of dirt. Have fun. There's nothing wrong with a barrier, and I've said this before. Well, what's happening in our government is completely political. Trump is trying to honor, and I believe there's been an emergency at our border for 30 years. There should have been a good barrier there. Heck, they should have decided to put one of those things after the Alamo, for crying out loud. But there should have been something there ages ago, at least after 9/11. If they taken, instead of putting cameras on every corner of every street in North America, okay, they should have put a steel barrier, something along our southern border to secure it. But no, they never did that. They've allowed it to be porous for generations, and it's because it benefits one political party. It's because it benefits Democrats. So you have a stalemate in the government, basically because the president wants funding. And I don't, let's go into this briefly about, I'm going to make Mexico pay for it. You know what that's like? This is like me saying this. Oh, God, let me think of something. Look, when the president decided, when he was candidate Trump, I'm going to build a wall, and I'm going to make Mexico pay for it. Well, this is what somebody does when they are really good at what they do. If you're really good at making deals and negotiating and stuff, you will over-exaggerate yourself often. And I like to do this myself. When you're overly confident, you're confident in let's say if you're confident in your abilities, you will make statements like that. Not everybody takes them seriously. But the Democrats, which is funny about it, they take it all seriously. Well, you were going to make Mexico pay for it. They wouldn't let Mexico pay for it if they tried. If Trump let Mexico pay for the wall, they would accuse him of treason, or they would introduce legislation to prevent it in the first place, because they wouldn't want, they don't want it. They don't want him to deliver on a campaign promise, which every politician should do. They don't want to deliver on it because they know that it helps him in the 2020 election. They also don't want to give into it because they know it hurts them for their 2020 election, because their whole strategy for getting elected is resist and obstruct. So you have gridlock within two parties. The Democrats they are happy to do this because they just keep thinking it makes Trump look worse and worse and worse. I think the opposite. I think it just makes everybody that is supporting them say, stand your resolve, have a backbone. Because in politics for so long, nobody's had any backbone. Nobody's had any balls. And I understand Democrats not wanting to do it. I get it. It's a political football. It's really what it is. But the problem is how does it? Who's going to be the more pissed off voters? I don't know. Now They can keep that. They can keep the government shut down for 6 months for all I care. I think the majority of us who have to get up every morning realize it. Now it would be great if Congress or the Senate didn't get paid when there's a government shutdown. They shouldn't get paid. But considering Congress is the one that actually writes the laws, they will never ever write a law that is against their own self-interest. That's the bad part. They will never write a law against their self-interest, and it will never get. The Senate would never even pass it anyway. They vote themselves raises all the time, but do you think that they would ever vote themselves not getting any money for a government shutdown? It's pathetic. All I know is this, and this is what you have to remember. The Democrat Party represents all the perverts, all the degenerates, all the people that are vile, nasty, and foul. They really, really do. That is what they are not for the working person. Democrats are not for they used to be, they used to push that, but they aren't. They're not. If you are the party that supports people that lets them live on public aid their entire lives, you are not for the working people. You're not. They want to play themselves as the party of tolerance and acceptance and compassion. No, they are actually the party of intolerance, because they're so intolerant of somebody else's viewpoint unless it matches their own. They are worthless. This is what they've devolved into. They're not. It's a party that's not even worth respectability. And I know highly educated people that align themselves with these people when they know better. They make excuses for the perverts. They make excuses for the degenerates. They make excuses for the it's just, and all based on love and compassion. There comes a time where you say no. No more. You know, Joe Biden has been touching children in funny ways for a long time in front of cameras, and no one says a word about it. You don't believe me? Go on YouTube and type in creepy Uncle Joe Biden. Anybody that had some stranger touching their kid like that would beat his ass. That guy's gonna run for president. Oh my God, can you imagine? Jeez. YouTube will start pulling those videos down real fast because they don't want the world to see what a creep he really is. So I don't know when the government shutdown's going to end. They can keep it going for 6 months. The Democrats are not going to budge. I don't think they ever would. They're not going to, because it's political suicide for them. The Republicans, it could go either way for them. It could go either way. It either can bolster them. I don't think anybody will fault them if it doesn't go the way they want to go, because they're going to blame the Democrats anyway. The Democrats are going to blame the Republicans, and they're all hateful and nasty anyway. So you're not gaining anything there. You're not gaining anything. So this is going to be politics as usual, as it has been for the last 20 years, because the country's been divided for 20 years. It's gotten worse because you have a whole bunch of young people that got what's the best word for them? Pea soup for brains. They've completely been indoctrinated by liberal professors and do not have the ability to think with reason or logic. It's really, really sad. I'm glad I'm going to be dead, because the world that this country, the country that the future generations are going to inherit is going to be a piece of shit. So I'm looking forward to my demise. I don't have a lot of time left, man. At most, I got 30 years. I can make it through 30 years, but all you people that got kids and children and all that stuff, I feel bad for you.